Yes, hi.
Oh, you sound so good and nice and loud and clear today. I didn't recognize your voice.
Yeah, I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm okay. I'm just fighting the good fight for Devon and Damon. That's what I do.
Yeah,
You're like one of the only ones that are left that knew them, that actually loves them and doesn't speak out, try to protect their killer. You're like the only one around that does that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I'm glad that you'll talk to me about it because I'm able to learn the case more. So when I present myself, I know that I have some facts. That's why.
Right.
So, but you did when he first opened up his business outside of Cuplex, and they were running it in the apartment. Did you work with them there too?
Yes.
And then over on
In a
Bond,
house.
yeah, over on
That's the first house they had. Yes,
yeah on
I
Bond
work
Street.
on a side for them.
Yeah, the Bond Street house was
He
actually
was he was stealing shit from Cuplex to
she
open up his shop.
what's
Small things, but they still cost money, and stuff. But that's how he started his business.
what did he do?
Stole small things from Q-Play,
Oh,
like those testing point needles.
yeah, yeah. I don't hold.
Small
I
stuff.
mean, it's not right for him to do that, but I can kind of see him doing that if you want to start
Oh
something.
yeah, oh
It,
yeah.
he took their business too, right?
Some
He,
people,
he took some of their contracts, didn't he?
yes.
Oh,
Well, the contracts no, but he met the people that own the companies, and that's how he started.
you taught Darren a lot about that business, though, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, because I know you worked at Cuplex for like 14 years, and then he came in. That
No, I worked for 10.
oh, okay, 10 years,
Wait a minute. For Qplex, I worked 10.
10.
For there, and I think was only, what, 3 years when they moved into new house.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, and then was just, uh, but I've known them for 13 years or so or more.
yeah. I know that she made you. You were one of the bridesmaids in her wedding.
Uh, Maid of Honor.
Maid of Honor. That's even better. See, there's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
say, there's a lot of people that the supporters, they say, well, Darlie didn't really like Basia that much. Basia was,
Darren one time told me that Darlie was very jealous of me. I asked, why? She's so beautiful. Why would she want to? And that bothered me, you know,
yeah,
when he said that to me. And I said, oh, that's just how she is. She gets jealous.
yeah,
And
yeah. But she trusted you with so much. Yeah, I mean, like when she
oh,
wanted you to go
I,
back, she wanted you to go back to the house and collect the sex toys. She trusted you. I don't see her. I mean, I can't see her being jealous.
no, I didn't go collect the sex toys.
Yeah,
She was worried about the sex toys. And
yeah,
I told her, I says, oh my God, I says, all this happened and you worry about that?
yeah. I see your testimony. I'm looking at your testimony right here, and that's what it
Well,
said. Yeah, the sex toys. And do you think that she wanted you to also grab some of the illegal substance that was in that house too, the cocaine?
no.
Okay.
She just worried about them finding that in a closet.
Mhm. I wonder why she would worry about that. Who cares? You know?
I know, but think about it. That's why I told her, I said, why are you even worried about all that?
Yeah.
I said, the babies are dead. You almost got killed. And, and then it came, to where she just kind of stopped talking and started looking at me.
Yeah.
And her eyes turned back to that mellow, pretty eyes, kind
Yeah.
of relaxed eyes.
Yeah.
And that's why I have a problem with this because I was standing up and she says, Basia, do you think I did this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And I said, what? And I sat down on I think that's how she said it, but I don't know because I was so distressed
Right.
and I mean I was going out of my mind.
Right.
So I don't know if she said that or I just heard that in my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that they
It's really weird, but I sit down and her eyes turn right back to this mysterious, scary, but then yet angry eyes.
yeah. Yeah,
And
I don't know
when
how.
Darren walked in, she said, he whispered, he hovered over her. And he actually grabbed her by her arms, too.
Yeah. That's the
So
second
it's not
time I've
like
heard
he
that.
just hovered over her. He grabs her by the arms and started whispering. And she goes, oh, I didn't tell her anything. I just told her about the toys
Oh,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I remember you said that. And
Yeah,
Darren didn't want you telling her talking to you at all, did he?
right.
I think
I
that.
knew there's Mama Darlie when I went in first time. I get where I get to see her finally,
Mhm.
and she was so scared. She
Yeah.
was biting her nails, and you know, and I told her that a friend of mine, he works in a police station and doing a little soccer game for kids.
Yeah.
He said that they say that they can find nothing other than points to her,
Yeah.
and she's going to be arrested. And the next thing we know, she is.
Yeah, they honed in on her right away because she kept changing her stories. Within the second day, that when they gave the house back to her and she went in and she saw that the sink was gone, she changed her
Uh-huh.
story.
Yeah,
And so did
yeah,
Darren.
because that's where she cut her neck. She held the skin, out so she doesn't cut her veins.
Hmm. She said
Yeah,
she said she was bringing towels
that's
back.
how I think she did it. She didn't just take a knife to her. She went and grabbed the skin and was cutting on the skin.
Yeah, it may be. That's a
That's why it
possibility.
made it look so deep.
Yeah. You see, she had to explain why that she was even at the sink because there was blood all over the sink and the glass was broke on the floor. And she said, "Well, I was at the sink because I was running towels back and forth to Darren." She said there were wet
Mm.
towels, but none of that blood was diluted. None of it had water in it.
When apparently the cop knew that Damon was dying, and he goes to her, Tom, hold your son. He's, slipping away. And she stood there and she was afraid to go up to Damon. And why? Because he could have pulled back
Yeah,
if she came near him.
yeah, she didn't help at
So
all.
she stood there with a bloody rag on her neck and just didn't do nothing.
That's what all the responders that came in. That's David Waddell, Brian Koschak, Jack Colby, Larry Byford, and Sergeant Walling. They all saw her standing there, not doing anything to help. Nothing.
Right.
She, and
Nothing.
and we noticed that.
But normally if Darlie would have went up to him and tried to hold, he could have pulled back. And if he would have done that, she was aware of it too,
Yeah, yeah.
I believe.
Well, she was. I think that she knew Damon was still alive when she called 911, and that's why when.
Well, that's why she hung out because he was crawling towards her and saying, "Mommy." And wait a minute, no, to the couch
Yeah, from the
with the
couch.
wiped out print.
Right. That.
And the funny thing is that I told Darlie, I says, to the end, she was a little soldier without knowing yet completely what happened,
Yeah.
but her behavior was getting me nightmares. I was getting nightmares.
Well, a lot of nurses and doctors that treated her, they said that she did not act like a woman who had just had her kids murdered. There were several of them that said she had a very flat effect, you know, and she wants people to believe that Damon had these mortal wounds on him. He woke up in the middle of the night to stab wounds, and he just walks over to her and taps her on the shoulder, and he's not screaming, and she wakes up to that. She wakes up to the little boy, tapping her on the shoulder, but she doesn't wake up to the guy beating her arm. She doesn't wake up to the guy
Oh,
slicing.
yeah, sitting on top of her. Yeah, but when she was in the kitchen, she realized when he went up to the couch, she went and finished him up.
Yeah, that's right. And she did at first say that,
Or
that
tried to finish him off, but they didn't succeed.
well, we feel like that she attacked him twice. We feel like that after she ran that sock down the alley and came back, she saw Damon moving away, and so she had to.
Devon apparently died right away.
Yes,
Yeah.
immediately. But Devon also.
And Damon died on the way to the hospital. The guy felt sorry for him and he removed him out of the
Yeah,
house.
Devon had
Because his
defense.
little soul don't linger.
Devon had defense wounds. He fought back.
Yeah.
He had one under his leg. He had on his ear and on his wrists and on the bottoms of his heels. He was fighting her
Oh my
back.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a lot of these people, they
And
try.
that could have made her even angrier.
Right. And I read your testimony. I'm going through it, and I asked you 10 years ago. I said, "Well, you didn't say everything." I said, "There's some things you didn't say."
Because they didn't ask me.
Exactly. And people know that I talked to you before, and I said, "Well, Basia said this, and she was there." And then, well, how come she didn't say that on the stand? I said, because she still cared for Darlie. She was only going to answer what she was asked.
I couldn't say anything other than answer questions.
Right.
So they didn't ask me none of that.
Did you got to sit down and talk to Greg Davis, though, didn't you?
No, only maybe one time. Most people was totally shook, and they didn't want me to say the things that, you know, any further, just for the evidence, kind of, and
Yeah.
but they didn't ask me only a little bit. That I was, you know, the friends and I run the business, and just questions where they don't have too much crap, and feelings. People mostly talk to media.
Yeah.
I didn't. I ran from media. I stay away. I didn't answer the phone calls.
Yeah. I know. That's why. That's
I
why
was
I'm.
the only one, and my daughter didn't go out there and get that deeply involved
Yeah.
because we were too hurt for once.
Yeah.
I was falling apart.
I can imagine.
Literally, I had a nervous breakdown.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Darlie has a lot of victims besides just Devin and Damon.
Oh, yes.
There's Drake.
Mentally, a lot of people.
There's Danelle. I feel so sorry for Danelle because she just did another.
I know, because she's so innocent. She's
She's so.
such a sweet girl.
She just
And
came
it's
on this show.
so,
She came on this show the other day, a big crime show, and she was just lying, lying all the way
oh,
through.
wow.
And I and I've argued. I've had
She
it out.
doesn't know much, and I think she's taught by the lawyers and her mom what to say, what to do. That's what I think.
Yeah, she tried to tell them that Darlie's wounds weren't superficial. She tried to say that Darlie lost half of her blood. She said that Darlie's DNA was found on the sock, but not in the sock. And we know it was in the sock.
I
And
know, and the screen counts from the inside.
well, here,
There are things I didn't think about those things till later,
right,
and especially when that guy who does the forensic,
James Cron.
and we were together just in a room where we were gonna go testify, and Kerrville there,
Yeah,
and he said when he walked into the house, he saw red flags right away,
yeah,
right away.
yeah. I think you're talking about James Cron. He's the guy that walked in, and
Yeah,
he had
yeah,
white
yeah.
hair.
See the steps where
He's
what
gone
could
now.
have
Yeah,
happened.
he passed away in 2019.
Oh,
But
God bless him.
what Danelle says about him is that he wasn't a real investigator. He wasn't. He was just a fingerprint guy. But James Cron started out as a jailer in the Dallas jail when Henry Wade was there. Then he became the commander of crime scene investigations. Then I mean, he is the expert. And she tries to make it look
Right.
like he tries to make it. Danelle tries to make him look like he wasn't even credible. But he felt like there was never an intruder in that house within 20 minutes. And to this day, they can't prove that there was one. They can't prove it.
Exactly.
A lot of people wonder why she would take the serrated knife out of the block and cut the screen and then put it back in there. And,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people said, well, she couldn't get outside to do that. I said, yes, she could. All she had to do is open them slide doors right behind the couch. I've been in that house.
Yeah.
She could have
Yeah.
slipped. She could open them sliding glass doors and went along that wall, cut that thing open, then came back in. You know, she had plenty of time to stage the scene.
To do a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the screen was cut from the inside.
And I remember you told me,
It was cut from inside, not from the outside.
well, I really think that they determined that it came from the outside. I mean, I'll have
Oh,
to,
it is.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
At first they said it was from the inside, but they went back and did some testing on it, and it doesn't make a difference if it came from outside or inside because that couch and that window, and then sliding glass doors, is only a few feet away from each other. Like when you go out that back door behind the couch, that
Yeah.
window's like right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, and I remember last time I talked to you, you talked to me about the day of the murders when you came over and you
To pick
said,
my mom up.
yes, you said that Darlie and Darren were in the kitchen arguing. You said that she was
No, 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 no.
okay.
No, no.
This is why. Okay.
They were arguing when I was at work.
Okay.
And I mean, she was screaming into that phone and hanging up and then calling him back again.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was in a meeting with people. And so, no, he was,
She was mad about that
she
guy.
was in the office. She
Yeah.
was in the office first. And she was screaming, calling him, thinking that he's somewhere, flirting around. And she was just screaming. And then from home, when she didn't came the next day, she would be calling and he would be telling me
Yeah.
that, she said, money, money, and she's going crazy because,
Yeah.
we can't even pay our bills
Yeah.
because she's been spending so bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I provided the it was in the office,
Yeah. The
some
financial.
magazine
Yeah.
and some bills, and I just handed it to them.
Yeah. But now at the house, when you came over that day, Darlie was in the kitchen and just kind of running around, being angry.
Oh yeah, yeah. She wouldn't settle down. She wouldn't look me in the eye. She was acting like you all need to get out of here. It's type of, you know.
Oh, she wanted you out of there.
And she, yeah, she was saying, yeah, they're
Is
gonna
it
have a talk. That's what my mom said. That she was constantly
is that
on
the
the phone yelling with him.
is that the same day You told me that you stepped out back, and that Damon was out back.
That's not the same day.
Okay,
That's a
good.
different day. That
All
was
right.
way before that.
Okay, good, because I wanted to clear that up because a lot of people think that it was that day. Because I went through the testimony, and what you said about that day was that you went in, she was a little bit irritated. She gave you a beer, you took a sip of the beer, and you left, right?
Oh, that was the same day. Okay,
Right.
that was a day where they got killed. The boys want to go spend the night with me, and she said no.
Yeah.
Nobody go out spend the night. So they say so. A few friends there. Can they come spend the night here? No, just us. We're gonna watch movies.
Oh, okay. Just us, we're going to watch
And
movies.
yeah,
Okay. You
and
did,
that's how they end up downstairs
yeah.
because
Yep.
Drake turns in a crib and wakes her up. She can't sleep,
She had been sleeping
and she
down
was
there on that.
drinking. She was ordering cases of wine.
She had been sleeping in that on that couch for about a week. Is that true? That you know of?
I
Yeah, you.
no,
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not there every night. Danelle.
no. Whenever my mom was, in a picture, I would go pick my mom up. Because I told my mom to watch her because she was acting weird.
Yeah.
And see, we didn't talk for a while, but before all this happened, she started there and started saying, "Can you go over there? We don't have much to
Yeah.
do because she acts so weird. Check on her and spend time with her. Can you do that?" I said, "Sure, I do it." So
Yeah.
I was going, there, and the baby was on the floor. She's doing karaoke in front of this big screen TV
Yeah.
and singing, and the baby was rolling back and forth in the blanket. So I picked the baby up, and I said, "Where's Damon?" And she said, "He's better be in his room on the backyard. If not, I am gonna let him have it."
Uh-oh.
So it was, yeah, anger was, it was so thick.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was afraid to say a word.
There's this story. Yeah, there's this story that Darlie. I talked to you about this in text. Darlie allegedly found Darren's phone number in your wallet, and she went over to
Mm,
your apartment. This is what she says. She said she went over to your apartment and that Darren was over there, right? And she came in and she confronted you about the number being in the wallet, and she was allegedly she told you and Darren that if any one of you ever gives him drugs again, I'm going to turn all your asses in. That's what they put out on the internet. But we know from talking to you that you didn't know anything about cocaine until they showed you,
yeah,
right, on the
yeah,
wedding night. And Darlie swears that,
yeah. And the weirdest part that Darren was still going to Qplex because that gave us few jobs. Okay,
yeah,
so he was going to Qplex too over there. And what was I was going to say? But she found the phone number in his wallet.
yeah,
But the phone number was David didn't have a phone,
right,
and he was renting room from me.
mhm,
And I lived in a house,
yeah,
and yes, and so I told David that Darren's going to be calling when you two get together, fix the radiator.
yeah. On the,
So that night, um, Darlie showed up at my front door,
yeah,
and I said, "Oh, Darren's coming in. Coming in, please."
yeah,
He goes, "Is Darren here?" I says, "No, hon. Do you know where he is?" I says, "No, yeah, I don't." Are you David? No. And I told her to sit down and stuff, and we were talking, and she was really nice, and she asked me if I want to be her maid of honor.
Yeah. Did you want to
And
get
I
drunk
told
later?
her, I said, don't you have friends from school or, and your age? Because I was 32 years old, where she was, 19 when I got married,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
18 or
something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
18 or 19. Right. Yeah. She wanted to go get drunk. There's
Uh,
nothing wrong with that.
no, no.
But
Uh,
they try to make you look like this person that was just turned on Darlie, and that they found your little stuff where you got caught with this and that, and they put that up there, and it had your freaking address on it. That lady had your address on it. So I
my God.
so what I did was I found the lady that put your address. I found her address, and I put it up there for everybody to know. I said you don't need to be bothering these people. But the thing of it is, they were trying to make it look like you turned Darren and Darlie on to drugs, you know. But Darlie swears up and down that she has never done cocaine in her life.
Oh, that's a lie.
I
That's
believe you.
a lie.
I believe you. I
Do
believe
you
it.
know what she tried to do? But my daughter will kill me if I say it.
Mm-hmm.
She tried to have a threesome with my daughter. Jenny was married at the time,
Yeah.
and Daddy invited her, and she goes, "I've been talking to Darren, and I wanted to have experience with another woman
Yeah.
with Darren and me."
Yeah.
Jamie said she was so uncomfortable. She just said, "No, I'm going home."
Yeah. Yeah. People do that back in the '90s. People do that, but they don't try to pretend like they're this
Well, I
miss.
didn't know that. I didn't know much. I was pretty.
Right.
Listen, I came to the United States when I was 17 years old. I didn't know much about you don't have a culture. You have a culture,
Right.
and I couldn't understand how stuff was happening in front of my eyes, and I couldn't believe that people could do things like that.
People do have, I mean, they do that, but it has
But
to
I
be,
was that person that I'll try anything.
yeah,
But so I tried that cooking, and I didn't like it because it put me in a stage of, oh my God,
yeah.
I felt like cold and it freaked out, and so I didn't do it.
Did Darlie do it a lot or just a little bit?
I really don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't know. I know we did it in her wedding,
yeah,
and then we did it one time in her shop.
yeah.
Uh, and I really don't know that they were that much into it.
Dar,
Tell you the truth.
for the last birthday that Darren had, she bought him an 8 ball of cocaine. Did you know that?
No.
You didn't know. Okay, I was just wondering. But yeah, she admits to that. And this Danelle, they discredit you so much. This is why I'm glad I've reached you again because they just started doing this in the last year or so. And
Yeah.
she told everybody, on this one show that Devon and Damon did not like you.
Oh my God.
And I said, if
Oh my
Devon and
gosh.
Damon did not like her, then why is she there at the silly string party tending to Drake? Like, if I knew that my kids didn't like somebody, I wouldn't let them around.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we know better.
Yeah, she told me because when I went to Los Terres, and she was like almost next door to me, and she goes, "Basha, Basha," and she even had uh, the TV people come, and I wouldn't talk to them, and she goes, "Talk to them about this guy," and she wanted me to lie, and I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, that's right. You were in jail one of the times that she was through came back for her appeals. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Did Darlie ever talk to you about her stepfather, Dennis Stahl, Danelle's dad? molesting her?
The funny thing is that Danny to apparently he was mean to Mama Darlie and so on and so forth. So when they came to Texas,
Yeah.
they were still together. To Mama Darlie started to working,
Mm-hmm.
and go out to La Bears and shit. And so she divorced him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was those lies about Danny seducing Darlie.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not believe that. And
Darling.
then because she was afraid for Danny to be alone with her kid. And during the funeral time, Danny stood outside and cried. He already had a wife.
Yeah.
And I went up to him and I said, I'm so sorry, Danny. And he goes, you're the one who recognized that I was part of the family.
Yeah.
And I love those boys.
I know you did.
I wouldn't hurt them for the world. And I said, I know, Danny. I know.
Well,
So,
no, no, no. Darlie said on the stand that Danny molested her
yeah,
from the age
yeah.
eight on, and he kept doing it, and she told her mom about it. Her mom didn't do anything about it. Danelle, when I had Danelle on my channel, I asked her that. I said, "Is did your dad molest her?" And she said, "Nope, my dad's a wonderful person. He never molested her. He never touched her." I said, "Well,
There
Darlie
you
said."
go.
I said, "Darlie said she did on the stand." And she goes, "Well, I'm not going to talk about that. Blah blah blah." I said, "Well, hold on." I said, "Either your dad's lying or Darlie's lying." And
Darlie's lying.
right, do you think
I
that?
do not believe Darlie is as I can tell, knowing the whole situations. Like, but we went camping and, we really, for good 10 years, we were happy. I felt like I have a family,
Yeah,
and my daughter and, but then my dad is spending more time with my daughter than with me. So
yeah, yeah,
the both be standing there because, well, one is 8, one is 17, okay? And here I am 32. And they'll be taking that makeup that you'll be teaching it to
yeah.
me. And I said, no wonder you all have this. I just piled up that shit where your skin cannot breathe.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So,
Yeah,
so,
so
so, so,
we did have a lot of good times.
so, Dar.
And Danielle, she is an angel, and she just don't know
She turned out
any
to be a
better.
nurse. She turned out to be a
I
registered
think
nurse.
she is trained by Mama Darlie.
No, she's a registered nurse.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
and
she's
she
so
she took
cute.
care of Drake. Yeah,
But every time she comes on a show, she lies about this evidence. She lies, and
yeah,
and I feel sorry for her. And she gets caught in these lies. I feel sorry for her that she's a victim.
right. Because she's Mama Darlie is old now. Oh,
Hmm.
she's still alive, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, she's
And
still.
she's probably coached by Mama Darlie, and Mama Darlie forgets what was said on a stance, and that's why Danielle gets caught on life.
Yeah. Well, Darlie did say on the stand, and she wrote in her journal that Dennis was molesting her from age 8 on. She wrote it in her journal too. I mean, she didn't think anybody was going to see that journal. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
so it leads me to believe that, first Danelle told me, yeah, we know that happened. It was an open topic, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is if they know that Dennis molested Darlie and Darlie told her mother and they didn't do anything about it, that shows that that family has a history of protecting people that harm children.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but Darlie never told you he did that to her, did he? No.
Well, she said her mother beat her.
Oh, her mother beat her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
well,
she
there was,
abused her.
yeah,
That she abused her, and then she's abusing Dana now.
yeah,
And
yeah. That's why Dana moved out. There was a police report.
well, she moved out because she said, if you don't let me move in with this guy who was older than her, she's gonna take her to court for. And they had pictures, Darlie took pictures
Yeah,
of her arms because they were showing it to me, and they were telling me that that's what they said.
yeah. There was a police
And
report.
so her mother went ahead and signed consent for her to live with the guy.
Yeah, there was a police report in October '96. Dana, Danelle, Darlie Key, and Darren were involved in a domestic violence where Danelle had her lip busted. Dana had her lip busted by Mama Darlie, and
Black eye,
but yeah,
yeah.
but they dropped the
Even
charges. So,
on her arms, they were like grabbed hard. So those were a few pictures that Darlie had.
oh man, Mama Darla has cussed me out so many times that she can be
Oh,
very
she is
very
mean as a snake.
mean. but
She is as mean as a snake.
But the way that I look at it like this is that her daughter put her in this position that she has
Yeah.
to, they don't want Darlie to die no matter what she did. And I can understand that. But, I get harassed by people because of what my son did. And that makes you mean when you get tired of
Uh,
getting harassed. So she doesn't, she, she gives it right back. I mean, I wouldn't want to go in and stand face to face with that woman. I tell you that now.
no.
She's cut. She accused me of going in the house and killing those boys. She accused me of it publicly.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was about probably 2008, 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, when did you really realize that Darlie did it? When did you think that she did it?
When I saw her in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and that time where I thought that because it was, I mean, literally somebody said that,
Yeah.
but I was so out of it and stuff. So I
Yeah.
walked out, but those feelings and what happened, and it was, and then I had nightmares where Devon and Damon showed Mama that she killed him,
Oh
stuff
no.
like that. Oh my God, dude, I had such nightmares that I thought I was going crazy. So I told a lot of this stuff to the cops, but see, they don't want to use it because they would have said that I was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I can imagine how you feel because I've been doing this for so long that I feel like Devin and Damon are like my brothers. I know their life, I know
Yeah,
what they went through, and I don't like it when somebody tells a lie in this case, and I'll be the first one there to be like, no, this is what happened. But I can imagine, how you feel because it's like just one day everything was okay, but you guys felt like you knew something was brewing in Darlie, that
yes,
something was going to happen.
yes, something. And even when my mother says something horrible is going to happen in the house, and my mother too saw sides that how she did it with Drake, how she tossed Drake to her
Yeah, with
when she says, "Give me baby, where's the baby?" And this little girl was there too,
Rebecca.
and Darlie punched out the bundle on her lap. And my mother said, "Give me the baby, give me the baby." And she tossed the bundle towards my mother. And my mother grabbed it. And when she opened the bundle, Drake was almost purple
Yeah,
from crying
yeah.
and sweaty.
Yeah,
And
your mom said that on the stand, but the judge didn't let the jury hear that part because then she said that on the stand, and then they brought the jury in. The judge kept that part out because he felt like it didn't it didn't match the crime. Not that she was lying. He just felt like that it didn't have anything to do with the crime. But we know she said it. We know it happened.
Yeah,
It's
but
in the transcripts.
those were the steps that we were seeing of something is going to happen
Right. Right.
because she didn't act right. Um, since I moved, when Darren told me to go and be with Darlie and stuff, that's where I went back to the life. I mean, but still, I work with them and all, but I didn't socialize with them anymore because of the new groups
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatever was going on, and I didn't like what was going on, and so I just stepped away, let her have
Yeah.
her friends and her fun, but I wasn't going to participate.
Yeah. What was going through your mind when the Darlie started spraying the silly string? We can see you off to the side. You've got a hold of Drake.
Oh my God, I started walking away, and she called me back.
That's what I
So I
thought.
turned around with Drake. I'm walking Drake.
Yeah, because you kind of looked over like, what the hell? I
Yeah,
could
and she
see that.
goes, Basia, come back, and that was so. And when she was on a camera talking, and I was looking at her, and then just keep looking at her and looking at her,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
crazy.
see her. Oh my God, that's not Darlie. That's not her talking.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh, you were.
yeah,
Yeah, with that
it was.
interview. That interview we
And they
saw.
wanted me to talk some, and I wasn't even going to go talk then.
Yeah,
That was a
you.
shock of my life. They didn't invited me when it was that day ceremony, the good ceremony where the priest was there and all. But I said, darling, no, I didn't want to because I know what they were going to do, and I didn't want to experience that on the grave.
Yeah.
But she said, as well, no, I said, I have to still work. She goes, well, I'm the boss, so you comment. And I went and took mother. Oh my God.
So
Oh my God.
you were also at
I
the.
was disgusted. And afterwards, when everybody left with the cameras and stuff, those other kids, they would jump around the graves, having knives, because that's what she distributed to them, and swords, and,
That's
they
crazy.
were running around, playing with swords.
So
Yeah.
she had all the kids running around with knives and swords at that silly string party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go to the? Did you?
That's after the cameras left.
Yeah. Did you go to the memorial service they had before the silly string party?
No, that's what I'm saying. They didn't invite me to that one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they invited me to the silly string man. Oh, I was mad.
Well, she needed somebody to. She needs somebody to watch Drake so she can give her interview and get her 5 minutes of fame on TV. And
Uh,
we can see that Drake.
mm.
We can see that Drake walked up and tapped her on the leg while she was doing that interview, and then you see her go out of the frame for a minute. I think she gave Drake back to you, didn't she? Don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe, yeah, because even during the funeral, some strange people were holding Drake, and he was just crying. And I just stood up, picked him up, and went outside. I said, leave the baby to me,
Yeah.
to this woman, and she handed it to me. And I went outside, and the police, they were undercover. They
Yeah.
were there because all of a sudden I see those dudes with black suits watching me and a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. That was Jimmy
But then,
Patterson. That.
we had Kimmy and two other kids that came with us, and Drake stopped crying, and
Yeah. He lives.
and then they told me that I have to go inside with the baby because they're gonna start the ceremony.
Drake is. He's.
And then that Gangsters of Paradise song came on, and oh my God, I jumped.
There were a lot of people that wondered why they were playing that. But
I jumped.
yeah, they said that Devon and Damon
Because they
loved
were
that
the
song.
favorite song. but still, you don't play in a funeral, something like that.
Yeah, the lyrics are,
Do it later, maybe, if nobody's around.
yeah,
And
yeah.
if you want to talk to corpse, you could sit there, talk to the corpse, and fade into music.
Well, yeah, they put a Swiss Army knife in the casket with those boys. Is that true? Did you know that?
I put silver dollars in each boy's 1996 silver dollars in the hands, and they were taken out, and they now put little knives in the hands.
Oh no. In 2002, they went back to Rest Haven and they dug the boys up. They were trying to get their fingerprints. They dug the boys up. Their hands were held together, and it had been so long that their hands were held together. In order to try to get the fingerprints, they had to cut their hands off.
Oh my God!
And
Oh my
Darlie
God!
approved that. And they couldn't find anything. They didn't find anything.
Oh my
So
God!
I'm thinking to myself, it's not good enough for her to put them in the ground, but you won't even let them be there. You have them dug up because you want to try and say you're innocent.
Go to those lengths, knowing that you're guilty. Woman, give up. You know what? She may be, try to fool us, but she cannot fool God.
That's right.
And
That's,
yeah, there will be worse punishment if she doesn't repent and tell the truth.
the Innocence Project has got Darlie's case now, and they're looking at new evidence, or they're looking at not new evidence, but they're going deeper into the evidence, and they're actually trying to get her out of prison. But so far, all the testing has come back to Darlie. But the Innocence Project in New York has got her stuff, and they've gotten people released before. But in this case, all this evidence points right back to Darlie, unless they find something that we didn't know about, a handprint, a fingerprint, or
I
someone.
doubt it.
They won't. There's nothing. The thing that gets me the most is she says that she was asleep on the couch. This guy was, he's supposed to sliced her, stabbed her, poked her, beat her, put a sock in her mouth, tried to rape her, and she didn't wake up.
Right. No, she beat him off, and that's where the glass broke when he was running towards, because she put her arm up, and that's where the stab came from.
Yeah.
She woke up, but after he was finished, I guess, playing with her or something, because she started to fight him. And he went with a knife towards her, and she put up her arm, and that's where she got stabbed. And then she went after him. He knocked the glass from, the wine rack. And when they went to check, and she went after him, so if she went after him, she would have stepped on that glass.
Right. There was nobody ever there.
And that was bloody foot, but no glass, no cuts on her foot.
That's right. Well, you think about it like this, too. She's laying there on the couch in the middle of the night. She wakes up and some man is in her house, but she doesn't scream. She doesn't yell. She does, conveniently, she didn't yell for Darren until after she broke that glass because she wanted him then. And then when Darren came down, she didn't even yell for Darren. She's yelling Devon, 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 Devon. That way, Darren would step over Damon, who was still alive, and then Waddell came in.
You know what I caught? There was two interviews where Darren said first time that she was screaming Damon, 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 and in a different show, and I don't know what shows they were, but in another show he
I've seen
said
all of them.
that Darlie was screaming Devon, 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 Devon.
Yes, there was.
And I said, wait a minute. She first said Devon. He said first that she screamed Devon, 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 And in another show, he said she was screaming his name, Darren,
Right,
Darren, Darren.
right. And see, I know what you're talking about because I did a video on that. On one show, he's saying she screamed Darren, Darren, Darren. On another
Yeah,
show, it was Devon, Devon, Devon. And then it was back to Darren, Darren, Darren. And then it was Devon, Devon, Devon. So
yeah.
but she says that she was yelling Devon, Devon, Devon. And I think the reason that she was yelling Devon is because Darren had to step over Damon. He was laying there against the side of the wall at
Oh
the
my
at
God.
the end, and she had to step over him. But he knew that she knew that he was still alive, and she also knew that Darren knew CPR. Darren said that she got down and tried to hold Devon's chest wound together with her bare hands. That didn't happen. I mean,
No, Darren did the CPR for Devon. He's not going to the live one. He's going to the dead one, and he's giving him a CPR. But he says the blood was gushing out of his chest, and so he went to Damon, and that's where the police came, I guess,
she
or
tried to.
something. But he went open the door or something.
Oh, he went out in the yard. He was going to run across the street and get Karen Neal, the nurse that lived across the street. And
Yeah,
while he was in the because Darlie wouldn't help him, so he needed help. That's when the first officer pulled up. Darren was in the yard, and the officer pulled up and drew his gun on Darren and walked him back into the house.
yeah.
You knew Karen? Did you know Karen and Terry that lived across the street?
Yes, yes, I met her. Yes,
Yeah, she.
as when we arrived there, she came up because when she told me that they both were dead, I just lost it. I just said, "Drive, drive, drive to
Yeah,
where they're at." You know.
Karen passed away cancer, and her husband Terry passed away of cancer. They both of them gone. And
Oh,
I've tried to get a hold of their daughter Rebecca and Nikki, but they won't answer me. But the lady across that lived on the side there, her name was Gorsuch, William Gorsuch. The little boy Jonathan that Devon and Damon played with, that was their son. And I did get to talk to the woman, and she said, they thought Darlie did it, and you know, so I try to talk to as many people as I can that knew the case because
yeah.
I put myself out there. I want to be sure I have the facts because we sure don't want to put an innocent woman to death. We don't.
No, of course we don't. But I don't see. No, she did it, and I don't want to be judgmental. I wasn't there, but the feelings that I had from the beginning to the end all pointed her.
Yeah.
All pointed her because all the things that I started to remember her behavior before
Yeah, that's the same.
and putting two and two together. And she walked in one time to the shop with the boys, and I was working. She said hi, and then the boys started to play, and she goes, "Now remember, boys, play nice, or you're not going to go to heaven."
Not,
And I thought, yeah,
yeah.
and that went like, wait a minute, why is she saying that? Later.
Yeah.
Why she said that she was prepared them to die.
Well, one of the things she wrote in her journal three about a month before was she said, "My life has been so hard for so long now, and I don't want you to grow up to to see a miserable person every time you look at me." Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry, that cut off for a minute.
Oh yeah, because I heard something going on in the background.
Oh, the kids are back from the other grandma.
Hey, all right. So they come to see Grandma.
Yeah, they went for 2 weeks to the other grandma.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the back and yeah, there's I have CJ next door
Oh,
and Katie is on the other side, but yeah, the finally it's getting loud in the house.
yeah. Well,
It was getting too quiet.
if you want to go be a grandma, I'll talk to you some other time if you want to do that.
Yeah, it's a
That,
little bit, sweetie.
yeah.
Okay,
Have
was
fun with
good
the
talking to you, Brian.
yeah. Have fun with the kids, and I'll talk to you online. Okay.
All right, sweet. God bless you and your family.
Yeah. Bye bye. You too.